Hi, I'm Marian Poeppelmeyer, and I have a guest on, Craig Chavis. He is author of Burdens of a Dream. Do you have your book there handy, Craig? Yeah,
Yeah,
Burdens of a
Burdens of a
Dream.
Dream. Here it is.
And I met him at a recent gathering of authors. Well, actually, over the past year. And I've gotten to know him, and his message is very timely for today with everything going on in the world. So, Craig,
Hey, Miriam. Thanks for having me on.
you're welcome. Yeah, interrupt anytime, please. We're
Hey,
pretty,
no, we're just getting we're not just getting by. We're thriving in today's time. So I'm glad to be on today.
we certainly are. We certainly are. We're thriving, and we're really wanting to help other people thrive too during this time down. And when nerves can get real kind of rustled, with coronavirus quarantine that's going around nationwide and worldwide, we can get cabin fever. So our aim and goal is to help everyone thrive, to keep moving forward in their businesses, with their books, with their writing, with their publishing, wherever they're at, and to give you hope and peace in the midst of a storm.
Right.
Because it's how we use that storm, how we walk through it, that
Correct.
matters. Which is really what your book is about, Burdens of a Dream. So, Craig, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there. Like, what's your background? You have a very interesting background, and
Yeah, it's very atypical. It's not normal per se, but like what is normal? So just to give you a little preface to who I am, I'm an Ohio native, originally from Cincinnati, and moved around a lot due to my father's role. And little did I know how much that would prepare me for like the person that I was, meant to become. And so, graduated from high school here in the Columbus area, and I got the opportunity to play D1 football at a school called Sanford University in Birmingham, Alabama. And unfortunately, my sophomore year, I had a career-ending injury that kind of turned me led me down a path of depression where I was really close to dropping out. But I had a Spanish professor that really believed in me and kind of locked me in her office and forced me to reconsider my options and consider that I should study abroad. And I wound up going to Costa Rica for 3 months, and that experience there was probably the most pivotal life experience I've had to date because it really opened my mind to a whole new world of possibilities. And so I winded up majoring in entrepreneurship and double minoring in Spanish and international business. Went to obtain my MBA right after I finished undergraduate studies. And towards the end of that process, I was interviewing in New York and San Francisco at major corporations, but I just didn't feel that environment was for me. Serendipitously, you may say it's fate, you may say it's God, but whatever happened for a reason. And ultimately, I ran into a Peace Corps recruiter who liked my background, that I was entrepreneurial, that I was creative, that I was bilingual, and that I was willing to go abroad for an extended period of time. And I received an invitation to serve in Peru as a community economic development facilitator, which is a fancy word for business consultant. But I specialized in youth entrepreneurship and just had a really life-transforming experience when I was there, and loved it so much so that I stayed another year and a half after my Peace Corps service to open up one of Peru's first branded craft distilleries. And so that whole process of me leaving the U.S., joining the Peace Corps, starting a business, and discovering the person I was truly meant to become is what my book, Burdens of a Dream, is about.
wow. Wow. Peru, 2.5 years. Amazing.
Yeah.
Boy, the adventures you had and how all of that just went into making who you are today. It's amazing that you just kind of rode with the wave. And I love the title of your book, Burdens of a Dream, because my husband and I have been one of the many out there that have sought after dreams, and then they seem to flop and flail. We've had a lot of our dreams broken and a lot of dreams reignited. We've been kind of up and down throughout our life. So I totally understand the burden of a dream, because all of us can have a dream, but we may not know how to make it happen. Would that be a good kind of summary? Or
Oh, definitely, definitely. And that's why I entitled the book Burdens of a Dream, because everybody has this vision of who they want to become or what they want their life to be like. But oftentimes it's that burden or that cost of the dream that really inhibits people from taking the steps they need to take to manifest that dream into reality. And so on the back of my book, I specifically put, no, don't chase your dreams, manifest them. And so what that kind of connotates is that don't just stay put wishing and hoping for your dream to come true. You have to make it a reality yourself. You have to put in the work to accomplish that goal. But at the same time, oftentimes we run into conflicts, obstacles, roadblocks. There's a lot of unforeseen twists and turns in our journey. And that's why on the book cover, I have a winding path, because it really symbolizes that. But I really admire people like you, Miriam, and your husband, for the fact that you even tried to make that dream a reality, because there's no such thing as failure. Chapter 31 of my book is entitled Fail, and fail means first attempt in learning. And so as long as you're constantly learning with
I like
what
that.
moves and decisions you're making, it's positive. It's only when you decide to stay put and play it safe that you're kind of sabotaging yourself. Because whether or not you move forward or backwards, as long as you've kind of framed it to a learning opportunity, you're always going to do better than you did before. And so that's all you have to do, is just try, and you'll learn and you'll be better for it.
Wow. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I was thumbing through your book, thumbing through your material, and that chapter on failure, of course, really rang a bell with me. So it is a good message. People have to be able to pick themselves back up, because I've learned that your friends and everyone may want to support you, but they're not the ones really walking through it. So, and then there's a lot of naysayers that go, oh, there they go again. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that.
Yes.
And will they ever, accomplish anything? So you get naysayers and you get the encouragers all along the way.
Right.
So we have to learn.
It's a lonely journey, and oftentimes it's more about doing the inner work, like working on yourself, before you can see like the external benefits. Because one of my mentors said that is like your physical reality is a manifestation of like your mental reality. And so if you don't take the time to work on yourself and your thought processes and believe that you're capable of becoming or of doing, you're never gonna, make it. And if you're constantly looking for external validation from other people, when you don't receive it, you're kind of gonna be stuck. So it's like I said, when you don't know where to begin, look within and do that inner work. It's really hard. It's really uncomfortable. I mean, it's not fun looking at yourself in a mirror and really analyzing, like, do I love that person or that reflection that I see? But like once you do, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. And once you get to that point, you're going to take off. But it's easier said than done.
Right. So tell me, you've written the book, and when is it coming out?
So it's coming out on Monday, March 30th.
Aha.
That's
okay.
Not too far away from now.
No, not too far away at all. And then with that coming out, I had another question based off the other. You're also providing other services, or you already are business coaching? And if so, do you help people figure all that out in their personal vision, and how to sort all that out and how to grab a hold? Do you?
Definitely. So part of what I do as a day job, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I realized that after a certain point in time, instead of me, chasing after the inspiration, I learned that I could become the inspiration, because I've learned a lot of things by just going out and doing. Like I have a lot of life experiences for somebody my age. And so once I knew better, I realized I could do better. But because of that, I also know that I can help people do better and help them avoid some of the roadblocks and obstacles that I experienced in my entrepreneurial journey. Because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me, A, believing in myself, but then other people believing in me as well, whether it was friends, family, other peers, or coaches. So for me, it's like, how can I transform myself into this coach or this person that can also help other people to accomplish their personal and professional goals? So, and like I said, with what's going on now in today's time, like I wrote this book for anybody who has arrived at a personal, a professional crossroads in their life. And so my mission is to help inspire 1 million people to become the entrepreneurs of their lives. And that's basically kind of taking your life and viewing it as like a business. And once you're able to do that, you become more strategic and intentional with the way you think and the way you process a lot of your life decisions. Mm-hmm. And so with the book, I've also created a online coaching course called Simply Scalable, 12 steps for creating a business that works for you. And then I also offer in-person coaching or digital coaching as well. So it all fits together into me creating a business around myself that helps and adds value to others.
Wow. Wow. And so, your book seems extremely timely for today. I know everyone is scrambling. Well, not everyone is, but many people are scrambling and figuring out, how am I going to use this time? What is this all about? The face of our nation is going to be changing. Right. We had other things in the past history that totally altered our nation and our culture. And that was, going back to 9/11, that was definitely one of these hallmark days, going back to World War II, the bombing of Pearl Harbor totally altered our whole culture. But there's been other things that have happened that have also done it. And this coronavirus, I've never seen anything like it. Nothing, or the whole entire world has not ever. And to have the technology available that enables all of the nation states, all of the different cultures and countries, which I hear there's over 148 countries now impacted, none of the communication or solving the problem could even be done. And, all of us in the United States, we value our independence. We value our freedom to move about and to go about. And all of a sudden, it's a shock, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shock to the emotional stance. And so many people are probably, because you mentioned that it's for those in transition. I imagine some who have been jolted out of their jobs, maybe right now going, wow, maybe I don't want to return to doing that.
Or maybe I can't, which is the other thing.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fear out there. That maybe they can, and then what do I have to fall back onto? And if your book, your efforts will spur on 1 million people to grab a hold of their lives, to take control and direction, then I see as nothing but good coming out of it. Right.
And that's the message that people like us are really put here to do, is to inspire and to motivate. But like in these times where life is like thrown off course or off tilt, one of the first things that one should do is just to pause and accept that this is reality, that this is the new normal. And by accepting, you're able to kind of rise above what's going on, to reframe things so that you respond and not react. Because when you react, it's more of an emotional like trigger, like, oh, I got to do this. It's kind of automatic. But when you're able to reframe and respond, you're able to get kind of altitude and think more logically than emotionally. So first thing to do is accept. The second thing to do is to adjust. So this is exactly what we're doing, because we typically meet in person, whether it's at some of our author fellowships or for lunch. We can't do that now. So we've adjusted to leverage technology to our benefit, because it's a tool. Everything's a tool. We just have to use that tool to our advantage. And so we're adjusting accordingly because of the new reality that we're in. And so after we accept and then we adjust, then we accelerate. And so we double down on what we're doing so that we can get ahead of the curve. Because as you mentioned, there's going to be a new normal. Things aren't going to be able to go back to the way they used to be. But by the fact that we follow that process to get to position ourselves to be, to be in success after, things get back to quote unquote normal, we'll be able to keep adding value to the people in our lives. But you got to accept, you got to adjust, and then accelerate, and that will better position you to thrive in a newly and ever changing world.
And then as individuals begin thriving, their families will thrive, and then eventually the community, their neighborhoods will, and the community will, because as one person gets on fire on their mission and purpose in life, I've seen it happen. It only takes a spark, to use a cliche. It only takes a spark to get the fire going.
Exactly.
So by giving people a hope and a plan through burdens of a dream, I can see how it's just going to take off. The concept I'm going to be honest for everyone, we're not the only ones working towards this end, to helping one another, to spurring one another in hope. I'm getting a lot of emails, I'm sure everyone else is. But if we all are like Craig, and where I'm currently at, is wanting to make that impact for the world and have our lives count at this season. I mean, nothing's by mistake, that we're all here at this time and place for a reason and a purpose, and to give hope to others who haven't even processed this far yet.
Yes.
Many people don't think they can own their own business. Many people think they can't write a book, or they can't do this, they can't do that. And now is maybe a time where they can, as you say, make adjustments and go, oh my goodness, I can. And there's people moving ahead of me that I can learn from.
Exactly. And that's one of the blessings in disguise with this event, is that we have more time on our hands, because we live in a very busy society. People are very busy, not necessarily productive, but very busy. And so when that rug is pulled out from underneath you, all you really have is you. So this is a great time to really work on yourself. As I mentioned earlier, doing that inner work, looking within so that you can have a new beginnings, and just really take advantage of it, because there's never going to be another opportunity like this to really work on yourself, to plan and adjust, and then accelerate to become something that you're meant to become. So take advantage of it.
Right. Oh, excellent. Then I know that we were talking earlier before we made this recording here, and the riches that have been poured into you are tremendous, and at such a younger age than I am, to have your life experiences. And so I sort of want to go back to Peru. What is the one take? I know, because I've had the privilege of living overseas.
Yeah.
I know what it's like, not 2.5 years overseas, but I do. And not everyone has an opportunity, especially you. I imagine you in the jungles in Peru. Maybe that wasn't,
I was there.
You. Were you?
Okay. Yeah.
I imagine you there, and in tough spots, and with the bugs and the, everything else in Peru. I don't know if they have rainforest. They do, don't they?
70% of the country is rainforest.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Or some type of cloud forest, but yeah.
Yeah, I got down to the Amazon rainforest one time, and for a mission trip, it was fantastic. So I just have that as a frame of reference. So I'm sure you've learned a lot of life lessons, and I know Burdens of a Dream is your culmination. You're putting all the pieces together, but is there one thing that you could highlight as to what you learned in the past and how you're using it today?
Fantastic question, Miriam. And like I said, the Peace Corps, like they tell you that it's the toughest job you'll ever love, which is a hell of a cliche. We thought it was corny as hell, but it couldn't have reigned more true. It was just truly a transformational experience. And probably one of the biggest takeaways that I got from it is that intelligence is everywhere, and that your way or the American way isn't the only way. And so like going into the Peace Corps, like they trained us to be like subject matter experts, like we're MBAs or young professionals with all this experience and know-how. We're just going to go in and save the world and help everybody out. And then you get to your community and you get smacked in the face with a ton of reality. Everything you plan gets blown up. Nothing works. There's a language barrier, even though I came in fluent. There's a cultural barrier. Like nothing goes according to plan. And so the thing I learned is that like I didn't know everything that I thought I knew, but then I also knew that like there's multiple ways to live, and that it's okay to think outside the box, to do new things, because like I taught this much and I learned this much. And so that was the big thing. Like I took away that like there's intelligent, beautiful, smart people everywhere. The diversity is what makes this world such a great place. And like your way isn't the only way to live. And it just really humbled me.
Wow. Yeah, it's a good message for all of us. It doesn't matter which nation we're living in. We all can get so tunnel focused that we miss the bigger piece. We miss it, that people are everywhere throughout the world, and they're all given God-given potential and talents. And I love your word, creativity, and that if shown how to, then they can actually really thrive in their own cultures, with their own ways. Wow, that's beautiful. Since we're all kind of in this law stage, some people are working from their home now. My husband's one of them, which I'm thankful for that he can do that. Others have outright lost their jobs, because they're in the restaurant, food, hotel, retail, or whatever. And a lot of people are there thinking and reevaluating their purpose in life, their transition. So, and then for entrepreneurs, again, going back to those just who have been having a dream for the last several months, to those who actually stepped into that, took their first step, to those who are like, maybe they've already created their product, whether it's writing a book or actually creating a product to market. Maybe they have their website up and running. We all still need to leverage this time. And we also have discussed that. I'd like to revisit how you believe that the different ways that people can leverage their time, so that, I don't want to steal one of your questions because it was profound. You had said something about, and maybe you'll remember it, I'm putting you on the spot, about who do you want to be coming through this.
Definitely. And so kind of the rehash is like when you have time, the best way to learn how to begin is to look within. So I really think that this is a great time for like a lot of like self-assessments and reassessments. And so one of the first things I ask people is like, what are your skills? Like, what do you excel at doing? What are you great at doing? Then the second question I ask people is like, what are your passions? What do you love doing? And so when you can combine the things that you love doing and are great at doing, that puts you in a better position to create a business or find a job where you're going to create the utmost value. But then after you figure out what are your skills, what are your talents, what are your passions, you have to find like, is there a demand for that? And once you're able to kind of plug yourself into those three variables, that's where you find a lot of value creation. And so going back to this whole methodology about becoming the entrepreneur of your life, it's not necessarily about creating a business per se,
Mhm.
but it's about becoming the person that you're truly meant to become.
Yes.
And so if you're a teacher, if you're a
Mhm.
lawyer, if you're a chef, if you're an author,
Mhm.
if you're a business owner, it doesn't really matter unless you've found that alignment between like your passions, your skills, and like a need for that. And once you're able to insert that, you can be the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
And once you found that, I mean, that's when you kind of step into a whole new level of living, because like you're no longer fighting against time or exchanging your time for money. You're just like being. And to
So,
me, that's like the definition of living on your terms.
oh, excellent, excellent. So going, um, kind of taking it a little maybe broader or deeper, depending on how you look at it, with this all of a sudden shutdown, quarantine, whole new way maybe of even viewing each other in the public. We don't know how long the season's on.
Right.
So what what you're saying is that what I hear you saying is that people will have a choice.
We
They
always
can
have a
they
choice.
can sit on their couches and eat bonbons and watch soap operas, or they can begin to focus what you're saying. So how well are they going to come through this? And they can right now, this very minute, start initiating plans. How do I really want to look back on this season? And what do I really want to be able to tell my children, my children's children, my family, my friends, years from now? How did I survive? How did I make it through? How did I occupy my time? So we have choices here right now. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for so many people to really grab a hold of, to use a cliche too, who they are,
Yeah.
discover perhaps, redig talents up that they didn't think they had or had forgotten about.
I like that. Yes. I like that a lot. And let me add a little twist to that, because I
Sure.
think a question that we're not asked that much is, or let me rephrase it. Here's a bad question we're asked all the time. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or where do you want to be in life? And I think that's such a poor question, because there's so many options. Like, you can't really put your mind about it. But when we kind of like flip it and we're saying like, who do you not want to be? Or what do you want your life not to look like? You're able to put up some boundaries. You're able to kind of eliminate some stuff. And one of my favorite second cliches is that like boundaries kind of set you free. And so when you're able to kind of say like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to be like that, you're kind of left with some direction. And when you have direction, you're able to like move forward closer and closer to your goals instead of like wandering aimlessly. So if we're able to kind of like reverse a lot of the stuff we've been asked, I think that can position yourself for, higher, opportunities to be successful.
Right. It's going to be amazing what's going to happen. Let's get, I love all this, and I'm sure our listeners do too, our viewers. But one thing is I love practical. I love, how do you implement the leveraging right now? And then you had mentioned earlier about, you didn't say it quite this way, but in partnering with others and
Collaborating
with others. So let's target those two for practical steps. Maybe like what type of leveraging. You alluded to that we're leveraging this wonderful Zoom right now, this wonderful high tech, but more specifically for people like me who are social media challenged. I know Facebook, I know how to post on Facebook, and now I know how to do Zoom, sort of. But more specifics if you could.
Yeah, well, like I said, with all the time that we're going to have now, it's a perfect opportunity to learn a new skill. And so for me, I mentioned that I'm coming out with an online entrepreneurial academy, over the next coming days. Well, in order to do that, I have to learn how to shoot video content. I had to build a little studio in my basement. And so just being creative, just having that intellectual curiosity to go online and to enroll in YouTube Academy. I say I have a PhD from YouTube Academy because I'm just going out there and I'm learning. Like, I'm writing books, but I'm also reading books. I'm just basically just digesting as much content as I can. And like you said, like if you don't know something, just ask for help. And so like I'll reach out to people in my network. Like, can you help me learn this? And I could join your platform. I could add value to your audience. And that's where a lot of that collaborative nature comes into play. But you just have to take initiative. And if you don't know, just seek it out. And that goes into that whole manifesting versus chasing thing. You just have to be curious. You have to figure out what it is that you don't know, and then just figure out ways to learn that information. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it's easier said than done.
It sure is. I love what you say, manifesting your dream versus chasing your dream. And that's okay to ask questions. A lot of people have so much pride, they won't even dare think. They think that they have to be the one. They're the business owner. They have to be the one pulling it all together. They have to be the one doing all their marketing or learning all of this on their own. And yes, a lot of people moving in the direction of entrepreneurship, of course, will, but you can't do it alone. And I happen to have launched into writing and spinning off coaching and classes myself and courses and so forth. But you know what? I could not have done it alone. And I now have a motto when I approach people, when people actually approach me, how do you write a book? I'll say, you know, I believe that no author should write alone. And you've hit it when that collaboration. And when you collaborate and are willing to ask questions of others, like I sought you out, right?
Right.
And we decided both then to help solve the problem here, to really help people through this time. But
because when you collaborate, you elevate. And that's what I and that's one of the names of one of the chapters of my book. It's called Collaborate and Elevate.
Because see, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, collaborate and elevate.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, because I too learned early on that like working in a vacuum or working in a silo, it blocks you from very valuable feedback and like unforeseen opportunities from other people. And just like us just talking, vicariously, we're like, wow, like maybe we should collaborate. And just by us doing this, we don't know who's going to see this and who's going to get some type of nugget that's going to be like, wow, like this just changed the way I look on life. And like, that's how you accomplish your goals, is just like sharing it with other people instead of like hoarding it to yourself. And so when you collaborate, you elevate, and that's how you spread that impact. Wow.
And in collaborating, I know for me, I'm learning a lot about the technical part. That is, I'm technically challenged, social media challenged, and I could sit back and be all time like, I can't do this. I can't figure this out. Instead, reaching out to those that you've already met in your path, or tapping in, saying you're someone alone, you've been wanting to write and you have this downtime or wanting to do this, you don't know how. Well, there's so many resources out there. Is what he said. You have to take that first next best step.
Yeah, and the quickest way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes.
Amen.
That's why I wrote this book. It's like there's when you're a coach or when you're somebody in our position of influence, like to me that is the burden of helping other people to not experience what you experience. Like if I went through pain, you don't have to go through that. Here's why.
Right.
You go from there. And
wonderful.
That's because like I've benefited, I'm sure you've benefited from other people's pains. And so why not pay it forward to help other people as well?
Right. Yeah. And then in leveraging more concrete with how especially this high tech social media is such a maze. It seems mammoth for me personally, and I'm sure for many out there that it doesn't come easy to. So what are some of the ways that individuals can leverage this time through social media and high tech?
Well, it's kind of to figure out like, well, since we have this time to work on ourselves, like what is your messaging? What is your branding? Like who are you and like who can you impact? because a lot of us, like, we want to share our content or connect to people, but if they're not necessarily somebody in our target market or our target audience, we won't be as effective. Because one of the lessons in my online entrepreneurial academy is called buyer personas, and it's all about discovering who your customer really is. Because typically there's two types of customers. There's the end user and the buyer, but they aren't one and the same. So the end user is the person that actually digests or consumes your content. Now, they may or may not be the buyer, but they're just the person who consumes the content. Whereas the buyer is the person who purchases your content, but they may also consume and digest that content as well. So knowing the difference between those two is very crucial. So when you're kind of leveraging social media and a lot of these tools to connect to your audience or to other people to collaborate with, you need to figure out, well, who is the buyer of your content and the buyer of your message? And you'll be a lot more effective and yield higher results when you're doing so. And so that takes a lot of time to figure out, but now we have this time to do that. And so that's a practical step that some people can do to basically increase their impact on social media.
Yeah, in this, share then the difference between when would you want to use Instagram versus LinkedIn versus even Facebook.
Well, it all depends on who your target audience is, because different types of audiences leverage different types of platforms. So for example, I have two main segments of customers, kind of like entrepreneurs and business owners, and then like creatives and like artists. So like a creative and an artist, they're not going to use a LinkedIn per se. They'll be more active on like a visual platform such as Instagram. Whereas like the business owners and entrepreneurs, they may be more active on LinkedIn. And so knowing LinkedIn, knowing Instagram, they have two different types of audiences that digest different types of content. So by knowing that, I can tailor my content to attract either my creatives and artists or to the business owners and entrepreneurs. And so by knowing which platforms have the different type of audiences will allow you to be more strategic and more impactful in your messaging.
Wow, see, that was something I never really understood, was the difference and why and how to do that. With I know our time's about ready to close here, but with the you've given so much information here. My head is swirling. With so
we have plenty of time to digest it all.
Yeah, so just something simple like with say someone is watching us, viewing us, and they go, well, I have a Facebook group, I have a Facebook page. Are there things like software that might help them create messages that they can post that are healthy, hopeful, not selling,
right,
but sharing who they are, or not so much what they eat for the day, but messages? Yeah. Are there tools available for that?
A great tool, one that I use that I think is probably the best tool out there to create really high quality and effective content is Canva. So it's free to use. And if you do get a premium version, the cost is minimal. But what I love about it is that it comes with pre-made templates. And all you have to do is adjust accordingly. You know, like I said, you work on your branding, you work on your marketing, like who are you? And then you could take.
Hello. We froze. Hello. Oh. Hello.
Yeah, I could. Am I back?
You are back, but I don't know if we're still recording.
Yeah, it's still recording.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This is just a part of the technology. How are we going to adjust accordingly? You know, stuff.
Yeah,
everybody's
it all
on
of
the
a sudden
internet right now.
I didn't push a button. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's on the internet now. So I don't know where it cut off, but I was saying how Canva is a great tool to use that comes with pre-made templates that you can adjust accordingly to match your branding and messaging that you can easily and quickly copy and paste to any social media platform to help put forth your whatever message you need.
That's wonderful. So for leveraging this time and season, people could choose, hey, I really need to go on Instagram. And then there's lots of tutorials they can find. I've heard that if they go on YouTube, they can find almost anything tutorial that'll help them. And same thing with LinkedIn, I believe, because I know there's certain guidelines with LinkedIn. I had LinkedIn training a number of years ago, but I'm sure it's changed.
Yeah, it
and
changes
likewise,
on a weekly basis.
Likewise, a tool like Canva that's free, I believe they also have tutorials. I think it's very simple to follow. Is that correct?
Definitely.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. How they can best use this time, in addition to their own. We're all going through the self. We want to call it introspection, visionary process, questioning. The bigger piece. But to do that is fine, but you can't stay there. You have to be moving. And one of the best ways of moving is to, I'm wrapping this up, let's see, and collaborate, to get help, to partner with others, to find like-minded people heading in your direction, correct?
Correct.
With the tools. Collaborate and then leverage the opportunity.
And then just use this time to really do a lot of inner work on yourself and figure out where you don't want to be after this season goes by. Because when you figure out where you don't want to be or what you don't want to experience, you could position yourself to make the correct decisions to avoid going down that path that you don't want to walk down. So this is the best time to do so because you have that abundance of time to look within. Because my mentor says, time is gold, money is silver. And if you have time, you can use that effectively and efficiently to position yourself for success.
Well, that's wonderful. So Craig, we have heard today from Craig, author of Burden of a Dream, which is being released March 31st, correct?
Monday, March 30th.
30th, okay. Okay. Being released on Monday, March 30th. And I want to thank you, Craig. If you want to give them your website, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so my website is creativecraig.com, and how you spell that is CRE8IVECRAIG.com. And you can follow me on all social media, specifically Instagram at Creative Craig.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Craig. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure many of our viewers, all of our viewers have too. So thank you so much, Craig.
Thanks for having me, Marian. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.